Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, and today we're going to be doing another Conan the Barbarian issue review. We're going to be looking at issue number 10. This is technically not the latest issue because the Free Comic Book Day issue also relates to this, right? So it's not exactly, it kind of is setting up an event which is not directly tied here, but it's within similar vibes, I guess, is what I'm going to go with, right? So I will mention that review. I will make that review next week probably. But today I want to focus on issue 10 of the Conan the Barbarian series, right? So this is halfway through the third arc in the story. Jim Zub is still the writer. Rob Del Toro has come back and is doing the rest of these issues in this arc, which would be up to issue 12, right? So 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 issues for the arc. And last time, Dean White was the colorist, right? And I actually think that he synergizes with Rob Del Toro really well. He has these nice, colorful, kind of simple color palettes that are quite enjoyable. They have this old style to them, and they're actually quite good at making Rob's art pop and keeping it, you know, special because it's not overly saturated or overworked, right? However, for whatever reason, it seems like Dean White has stepped away, and going forward, Diego Rodriguez is going to be the colorist, right? And Diego Rodriguez is the colorist that worked with Doug Braithwaite in the last arc, right? Issues 5 through 8. And if you guys have been following this, I've had issues with the way that they do their work, right? So I constantly mentioned that I didn't like the artwork, and actually I settled on the fact that I didn't like the coloring, right? And I don't think I ever explained, so I'm going to explain it now and kind of show you what I mean, because I think that some of those elements are still prevalent here, and I don't necessarily like it. I don't dislike it enough to stop reading the series. Like, I think that, you know, Rob Del Toro's line work and Jim Zub's writing is good enough for me to push through, but there's certain elements of the coloring here that I just don't like, and it's mostly due to the color palette, right? So in the previous arc, the setting was a city in darkness at night, and so the color palette had to be a bit muted, right? But to me, it felt not only muted but overworked. Like, there was too much darkness, and also a lot of color that I didn't like, and mostly it was because there were these like orange washes across many of the pages and many of the panels, and I didn't like how that looked, right? Because you had this really dark palette and then these orange washes that made everything just look really odd in a way that I didn't like. I don't really have the words to explain it properly. It's just kind of like, I'm trying my best here to kind of, you know, tell you what I feel, right? And I mean, logically, based on the setting, it makes sense that it would look like this, right? But I don't like that it does, because it would make sense that if the only light available is torchlight, right, fire, everything would have this red-orange glow to it when you can see things, right? But it just felt like too much. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on in the way that was painted, right? And in this case, it's less noticeable. It's still there, right? There's certain parts of the story where they're on a boat at night or during a storm, and there are those orange glows that are kind of not really nice to look at, in my opinion. But broadly, since everything happens kind of in the day, there has to be a lighter color palette, and so Diego Rodriguez's painting or coloring doesn't look quite as unlikable to me as it would otherwise, right? Undesirable maybe is the right word to use here. And so it broadly works, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that there's a huge difference between Dean White and Diego Rodriguez's color work here, but the palette is definitely different. There's some times where, you know, Dean White might have used a purple, where, you know, Diego Rodriguez is just going to use, you know, like a red or a green to kind of fit the background that he's trying to build. And it feels less dynamic, and it also makes everything feel a bit more stiff, in my opinion. And I don't necessarily like that, but like I said earlier, it's not really enough for me to stop reading this. Like, I still really like Rob's artwork. I still love Jim Zub's storytelling, but it just kind of removes that little je ne sais quoi, that little special sauce that the first arc had, right? So I don't know. It's just my opinion on that. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments. But let's actually talk about the story here, which is probably the best part, right? So it opens with what looks like straight up just a real situation, but turns out to be a dream. And this real situation that turns out to be a dream is Cole in the jungle against a tree naked, kind of hearkening back to how he became part of civilization, right? Because if you guys don't know, Cole was initially raised by tigers or something. And he's against this tree, he has a spear in his hand, and then two beasts approach him, right? A lion and a lion and a tiger. The tiger represents Cole, and the lion, of course, is Conan. And these beasts guide him. They push him towards somewhere, right? And it turns out that they're pushing him towards his village where he became a person, right? And when he gets there, after they push him there, fiery death happens, an explosion, something goes wrong, and boom happens, right? And then Cole wakes, and he gets angry, and he gets upset, and he realizes, oh, I've done horrible things. I need to fix this, right? And so he tells Tu. Tu is his Pictish advisor, to get him ready because they have to fix the issues and that they have to go off to get Conan, right? So they do. And once we're with Conan and Brule, they're actually talking with each other. They're kind of dealing with, are we just going to stay here, right? And Brule, because he knows Cole, he's like, yeah, I can't escape. There's nothing we can do. We just got to take it as it is, right? And Conan is like, no, fuck that shit. I'm not going to die here a loser's death. I'm going to go off fighting, right? And so as he's about to try to break his chains, Cole arrives and he's like, okay, Brule, my man, sorry. Conan, also, I haven't really properly met you, but, sorry too. Let's actually get you out of here. I need you guys to help me with this. And so we have to go off on an adventure, right? And so Cole gets everything ready to go off back to the Atlantean coast, I guess is the right word, back to his home. And he prepares Conan and Brule and his Red Slayers to go on this boat ride. And so they set off. And because the story focuses on Conan meets one of the Red Slayers, who happens to be a woman, and he becomes part of their he joins them in camaraderie. He becomes a member of their team, right? And gains the attention of this special Red Slayer that's a woman, right? She's a special archer or something. And we get to have a little bit of a canoodling here between Conan and this female character. However, the female character doesn't ever get a name. And I don't like that. I think she needs a name. She's cool. She's interesting. She's really attractive. And Conan likes her well enough, right? But, because he's on a boat, he's still thinking about Bellet because of the timeline of events here. I really would have liked to have her have a name. I'm sure she does, but I don't remember it being told to us in any of the pages in this issue, right? So that's a bit disappointing because it makes this female character just kind of not relevant or even like worthy enough of a name. That seems kind of weird to me because Conan always has female companions and they always have a name and they're always something about them that's special, right? Whether they call to Conan in some way, whether they're a damsel in distress in some way, whether they're a warrior, and with Jim Sub doing such a great job with Grizza, I feel like there should have been a little bit more effort put into this character, right? But maybe because she is kind of like, she's eventually going to not be relevant ever again, because, once Conan goes back to his time, who cares what this person was? Maybe that's why they're just not bothering with a name, or she's going to die in the first page of the next issue, something like that, right? So it makes sense, but I don't necessarily like it too much. And so he's doing this. He has fun with this woman, and while they're canoodling, something happens. They get attacked by, the zombie men. And so they have to fight them off. 2 Red Slayers die, and then their luck turns for the worst. And so they have this, they have to deal with this storm. They get lost at sea. They eventually manage to make it to land, right? And so there's this camaraderie between the Red Slayers and Conan and Cole and the slaves that were rowing the boat initially. And so now everyone is kind of like a brother in arms. And they manage to get to land. And Cole rushes off. And everyone has to follow him. and they finally managed to get to Cole's home, and it turns out that there's nothing there. Very similar to the first arc where Conan returns home to his village and sees that this place is, messed up and beyond repair. Cole sees the same thing, but instead of having a village of zombies, he has a giant freaking hole in the ground, like a pit of darkness that just exists there for no reason. Although because of the explosion that happened in Cole's dream at the beginning of the story, we can kind of understand that this was something that was experienced metaphysically and also physically in the world, right? So he gets to this, he sees this crater of darkness, and that's where the story ends, and we don't know what happens next, but I'm very excited about it, and I'm very, much looking forward to the next arc. The next issue, right? So that's basically it for this review of Conan. I mean, I kind of might have missed some details here and there, but in general, I think I kind of have everything set properly. So yeah, very good stuff. I'm very happy about it. I'm curious to see how this ties into that, Blackstone event, because it seems like the Blackstone event that they set up in the Free Comic Book Day issue is like the culmination of this year of storytelling, right? So all of the different arcs that we kind of had so far all kind of go into that Blackstone event, and I'm curious to see how it kind of ties in, right? Is it that they're gonna explore down into the crater, and then at the crater they're gonna find that symbol, and then they're gonna have like to meet with Solomon Kane and Elbarak and all of these other characters to fight this darkness, or what's going to happen here? I'm very curious to see how that goes, right? So yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought. What did you think about Conan this week or last week when it came out? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.